Hey, house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 24 updates and spoilers. Hope you're all having a great Monday so far. Today has been absolutely insane. Today alone was insane, but catching up on the feeds since Saturday night. Oh my goodness, I just cannot even believe. Our house guests of the day are Pine and Deb Wicks. Thank you both so much for your support. We could not do this without you, and we appreciate it so much. So thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. It's only $1 for a holla. Woo! And before we get started, I also want to thank our super chatters from the last stream because that's a fantastic way to support our channel and keep us doing what we're doing. So Jordan Kaiser, Caven Coy, Kenya M, the T of Texas, Sally Anderson, Brenda Mueller Jensen, Sean Davis, Samuel Johnson, and Kevin Charles. Thank you all so much for your super chats. And yes, I'm wearing the same shirt that I think I wore on Saturday, but it's clean. I am almost all moved into my apartment. I'm going to have access to all of my clothes again. Tonight, hopefully. Yeah, so tomorrow I'll have a different outfit on. But yeah, I'm glad that that's behind me. Now after this, I'm going to go over there and like try to organize things and unpack. But if you want to check out my new apartment, we did post an apartment tour on our other channel, Madrosed Vlogs. So check it out if you're interested. But oh my goodness, we have a lot of Big Brother to talk about. So let's get to that. Okay, so when we left off the other day, Indy and Alyssa were up on the block. We know that Kyle and Daniel won the Power Veto competition. We talked about that last time, and they were already telling Alyssa and Indy that they would use the Power Veto on them. They're promising them. It was a jovial time, right? Everyone's so excited. Daniel thinks he's taking out Taylor. Because keep in mind, Monty has been playing it up all week that Taylor is his backdoor target. In reality, Nicole would be his backdoor target, and the leftovers have the votes to take her out. You need 5 to tie this week. HOH breaks the tie. And then you need 6 if you're just going to straight up evict, right? Because there's 10 people voting. So Monty has made it known with the leftovers this week that he would only put up Nicole and Taylor as the replacements if Taylor's comfortable with it, because he wants to make sure that she feels like a valued member of the group, that she's not just being used as a pawn whenever they need somebody like that. So after the Power Veto competition, Taylor wasted no time talking to Monty, and Taylor said she was 80% on board with this plan to take out Nicole, because she is so ready for Nicole to go. Nicole freaking sucks. I'm sorry. But she said something last night about like Taylor going around like flaunting her pussy. Yeah, those were her words. That's a bit much, don't you think? So Taylor can't wait for Nicole to be out of here, and then she can join a different Festy Besties group. So Taylor is saying that she would be Festy Besties with Indy and Alyssa, because if you look at that duo, neither of them are in the leftovers. So if Taylor is nominated with them, she knows her allies can keep her safe. However, she's concerned that if Nicole were to go this week and she goes and joins Indy and Alyssa, that's still going to leave Michael and Brittany vulnerable, because they were hoping the nominations would stay the same and Alyssa would leave this week, because Michael and Brittany are hoping that Indy would pick them to be Festy Besties. I don't know that I would see Indy picking Michael and Brittany. I don't know if they have any information to back that up or if it's just wishful thinking on their part. But yeah, that's something. So anyway, Taylor, Michael, and Brittany are chatting at the tiki bar, and Michael's like, so is the plan to use the Power Veto? And Taylor confirms, yeah, that's what it seems like is happening. And Michael's like, well, when did the group decide that? You know, I know we've talked about it, you know, the possibility of Nicole going up and out after the veto. But, you know, Joseph is already down there telling Alyssa and Indy that they're coming down. I don't remember agreeing to a plan. I have to say, Joseph definitely tends to jump the gun because I don't think it's malicious. I think he just gets like really excited about potential plans and he tries to like put them into action immediately. And sometimes it's a little too soon. But anyway, Taylor tells Michael and Brittany about her conversation with Monty. She said he's very excited and understandably so about potentially taking out Nicole here. And he was asking Taylor if she's still on board with it. So Taylor's explaining, again, she's worried about Brittany and Michael's safety moving forward. And of course, they are too. So Michael says taking out Nicole would definitely be the flashy move. And it would be so much fun for it to happen because Daniel used the veto, right? But he's wondering, is that the smartest move for our alliance? You know, we're still leaving ourselves vulnerable here. We could potentially be in trouble next week if we're up on the block. So Taylor's like, you're right. I don't think it's wise. You know, we should be setting ourselves up here for the long term. So Taylor is concerned, though. It's going to look really fishy if Kyle, the other veto winner, is trying to convince Daniel not to use the power of veto. Because again, Daniel is under the impression that Taylor would be going this week if she goes up on the block. So if Kyle has to tell Daniel that Nicole could be in trouble, we're screwed, right? Because then he's going to be wondering, like, why is Nicole in trouble? What's going on here? Who's working together? So, yeah, there's definitely some issues here that need to be ironed out, especially if they want to keep their alliance a secret still. So a few minutes later, I just want to clarify too, with the veto, they don't know exactly how this all works yet because they haven't encountered a situation where potentially one veto holder would want to use the veto and maybe the other one doesn't. So it seems like from what the House Kiss have heard and what we've heard, as long as one person from a Festy Besties duo or trio wants to use the veto, they can. And I believe both nominees would be saved. Okay, so a few minutes later, Michael and Taylor are chatting alone. And Taylor says that she's planning to advocate for Michael and Brittany this week because she wants to make sure that everyone in their alliance has some protection, meaning everyone in the leftovers has a festy bestie outside of the alliance. They've been calling this like insulation. They want every alliance member to have insulation. But again, there's no guarantee that Indy would join them if she survives the eviction. So it's all pie in the sky, right? So Michael says it would be ideal if Nicole told Daniel not to use the power veto because then we wouldn't have to convince him of it. We wouldn't have to potentially expose our alliance. And again, if Daniel doesn't use the veto, Kyle still can. And Michael says that would be good because that would take some attention off of Taylor and put it on to Kyle. Kyle can take some of the heat. So we get rid of Nicole this week. Next week, Daniel and Kyle go up, and then Daniel goes. Sounds great to me, right? So Kyle and Daniel are then chatting in the HOH room. They're waiting for Monty to join them, and they're all excited because they just won the power veto together. So Daniel's telling Kyle, I want to hear what Monty has to say. You know, of course, we won the veto, but I want to work with him because he's the HOH, want to respect his wishes as long as they line up with mine. And Kyle says, well, Monty made it pretty clear what he wants in his nomination speech. And he's like, to be honest, I think Taylor knows that she's probably going to be the target here. So anyway, they also talk about how Taylor wasted no time talking to Monty after that POV competition. So they want to ask Monty, what was that conversation about? You know, were you already breaking the news to her that she's going up on the block? Sure, that's what it was. But they agree a lot can change in 2 days. Daniel says he is open for some communication with Monty about this. So Monty joins them. And Daniel says, we just wanted to touch base. You know, has anything changed? And Monty says nothing has changed. He wants to be straightforward this week. So Daniel asks, what was Taylor talking about with you, like, after the POV competition? Was she trying to pitch? And Monty says, yeah, she was trying to plead her case to stay. No. But Monty says he listened to Taylor, he heard her out, and then he moved on with life. So again, he is very much still selling that Taylor is his target this week. So a little later, Daniel and Nicole are chatting in the golf bedroom, and Daniel is bugging out right now about Taylor talking to Monty immediately after the POV competition. So he's like, I asked Monty about it, and I think he lied to me. Nicole's like, yeah, he probably did. Nicole and Taylor and Monty were probably celebrating the outcome of that competition. She's suspecting that Taylor and Monty are working together. Correct. Okay, so anyway, Nicole and Daniel are wondering, is something going on here? Because Daniel says he feels like people were pissed when he and Kyle won the power veto. He thinks that Joe and Monty were pissed, and he's wondering, was there some sort of a plan to put me or you up after the veto this week? Daniel says he feels like he needs to convince Kyle not to use the power veto. So just like the leftovers were saying, they might have to convince Daniel not to use the veto. So Nicole agrees, but they're not sure what happens if Daniel does not use the veto and Kyle does. They're hoping if that's the case, that Kyle would only get to save one person and then only one person would be replaced. I don't think so. I think even if only one person was using the veto, it would still save both nominees. But they're hoping if only one nominee was changing, that Monty would put up Taylor. You're dreaming. Oh my God. So Nicole says, obviously, if I go up on the block, I am clearly the target. Yeah. Okay. So Nicole says to Daniel, you should make it very clear to Kyle that you do not want to use the power veto. All right. So then we've got Monty, Joseph, Michael, Brittany, and Kyle chatting in the HOH room. So that's a pretty decent chunk of the Leftovers Alliance. So, oh, look at this. They are discussing the possibility of Kyle using the POV even if Daniel doesn't. Michael says this could be good for us because maybe when Daniel doesn't use the veto to save Indy and Alyssa, they're going to be pissed at him. And then they'll be really happy with Kyle for using it. And if that were the case, Daniel would be the only person mad at Kyle, but he is Kyle's festy bestie. So even if Daniel won HOH next week, it's not like he could put Kyle up on the block, right? Because Kyle would automatically be safe. And if Daniel doesn't win HOH, we're going to take him out. So you don't have to worry about him. So they agree again. They're going to need Nicole to be the one to tell Daniel not to use the veto because they don't want to give away how they really feel or that they're working together. So they want to get Nicole paranoid enough to ask Daniel not to use the veto. Mission accomplished. They're already talking about not using it. So, all right. Meanwhile, Daniel is by himself in the bathroom with the Chinese checkers board, and he is trying to piece together where everyone stands in the house right now because he knows something's up. I mean, last week's vote should have been like really obvious and a giveaway. I mean, you could pretty much see where the line was drawn in the sand. But anyway, Daniel's like, oh no. He's realizing he doesn't have a ton of numbers on his side anymore. Like, not the majority. So he's saying, you know, if we get rid of Indy this week, Alyssa will still be here. He wants to pull in Alyssa, Jasmine, and Kyle to work with him and Nicole. He doesn't realize that Kyle is already super entrenched with the other side. So he thinks that Brittany is like a wild card in the middle. Nope. He thinks that Terrence is just going to float to whoever has power. Maybe. But Daniel, as he's realizing how this is all falling, he keeps whispering like, oh my God. Oh my God. He realizes he needs to get it together before it's too late. And he doesn't have any shot at getting the numbers together anymore. So a little later, Daniel checks in with Nicole in the Judsons' bedroom. And Daniel says, we are all handing over the check if we don't make a move right now. We need Jasmine, Kyle, and Alyssa to work with us. So he tells Nicole, if we don't do this, we're all effed. We are handing Monty and Joseph the check easily. He feels like those two are really running the show on the other side. And he says, that's going to be my pitch to Jasmine, Kyle, and Alyssa. So he's like, we got to save Alyssa this week for all of this to work. And what do you know? Alyssa comes in and busts up that conversation. He wasn't ready to share that with Alyssa yet. So in other news, let's change gears for a second. Nicole and Alyssa did not handle the unveiling of Pose Pack well this week. Because remember, it was part of the Leftovers plan to leak out the Pose Pack Alliance so that people would be scrambling before the vote. But the way that they did it, they didn't name every single person in the alliance. So Nicole and Alyssa were kind of hiding that they were part of that to their other allies. Instead of admitting that they were in Pose Pack, they're being like really shady about it. And their allies are finding out from other people. When I say allies, I mean like Jasmine, Indy, and Alyssa. Not Alyssa. Jasmine and Indy. They are finding out from other people that Nicole and Alyssa were part of the Pose Pack Alliance. So Jasmine is pissed at Nicole for basically lying to her face about it. Indy does not trust Nicole. Amira said many times, like before she left, if I leave, do not trust Nicole and Daniel. And Indy is also pissed that Alyssa didn't tell her that she was a part of that alliance. And apparently Indy blew up on Alyssa before the POV competition. My fiance's here telling me to hurry up. Thanks, babe. But yeah, I guess there was some sort of a blow up before the POV competition. Can't wait to see that. Sounds very messy. Oh my goodness. So in other Alyssa news, she's really trying to make this showmance with Kyle happen, even though he's told her no multiple times. So the other day, Kyle was getting ready to shower, and Alyssa was wanting to get in there with him. I'm not even talking about the HOH shower. I'm talking about the downstairs communal on-camera shower. So Kyle's like, no. He declines. He's like, I don't want us to mess up our games by getting into a real showmance here. So Alyssa's like, yeah, but it's like all I think about. We know. So Kyle tells her for the millionth time, wait for jury. So Alyssa's like, okay, but do you mean like wait until the jury portion of the game starts, or like wait until we're in the jury house? So Kyle clarifies he means in the jury house. So she's like, ugh. So eventually Kyle tells Alyssa to leave because he has a situation, meaning a boner. So after Alyssa leaves, Kyle tells himself, like, be strong. Oh my God, Kyle, get it together. All right, so a little later, let's just leave that. A little later, Kyle chats with Daniel in the golf bedroom, and Kyle's like, oh, I'm so happy we're safe this week. We won the veto. This is amazing. So, Daniel says, I don't know, Joseph and Monty seemed really upset when we won the power veto. What's going on there? And Kyle's like, I don't know. I don't pick up on that stuff. Do you think they were mad? Or do you think they were like trying to backdoor us? And you know how Kyle has that like golden retriever, yellow lab energy? He's definitely like playing it up right now and acting clueless. So Daniel's like, we need to talk more because I'm worried that there's something else going on here. I need you to pay attention a little bit more. Taylor seems to be in with those guys. She is in the HOH room all the time, and I don't think she's going anywhere right now. So Kyle's like, oh my God, really? Like, thank goodness we effing won, right? We could have been in trouble this week. So Daniel's telling him again, keep your eyes open. We're going to touch base again. So after this conversation, Daniel's alone, and he says to the cameras, that's step one. Stay tuned for tonight. We got to make Kyle think that it's him coming up with these reasons. I guess he means like the reasons to leave the nominations the same. So Daniel says, I love this game, planting the seed. Have fun with that. Oh my God, Daniel really thinks he's doing something right now. So, okay, just wait. Michael and Monty chat in the HOH room. And Michael lets Monty know Nicole no longer really wants to go up as the replacement nominee next to Taylor this week. She was all big talks before about how I picked Taylor to be my bestie bestie because I knew I'd be safe against her. And she was so willing to go up on the block because she knew that she'd be safe against Taylor. But now she's getting nervous. She's getting cold feet here because of what happened to Amira last week. So, hello, wake up. Monty says, no, this is actually good because this is building more of a case for Nicole to go. People are going to be annoyed when they hear that Nicole wants to go back on this plan and she doesn't want to go up on the block anymore. And I can tell Indy and Alyssa all about this. And it's going to drive more of a wedge between them and Nicole because Nicole is essentially saying, I don't care if Indy or Alyssa go as long as I'm safe. So he's hoping maybe Indy and Alyssa will vote out Nicole as a result. Monty would love to get a unanimous vote this week for Nicole to go, or at least as close to unanimous as possible. Because, I mean, would Daniel really be voting out Nicole? Probably not. So, yeah, it would be less blood on his hands if he could get closer to a unanimous vote. So anyway, just a quick look at the rest of Saturday night before we move on. Yes, we're still talking about Saturday night. Oh my God. Kyle was still planning to use the power veto, whether or not Daniel was on board with it, because Nicole is still the target here. Nicole is saying if she survives the block, she would pick Michael and Brittany as her bestie besties. And I think she was telling Terrence that she would pick them because she feels like she would survive the block against them if they were all up there. Okay. Jasmine was trying to get a new alliance together with Indy, Terrence, Monty, and Joe. She's trying to rebuild now that Amira is gone and she feels like she can't trust Nicole and Daniel anymore. But Monty has already reported this new alliance back to the leftovers, so he's not taking that seriously. Alyssa still trying to make a showmance happen with Kyle. She was kissing him all up his arm and like on his back. And eventually he kissed her on the forehead. I feel like if he truly wants to like cut her off, he needs to cut her off because he's giving her like a little bit of mixed messages right now. And I understand like part of that could just be because he's uncomfortable and he doesn't want to be like, get away from me. But it's like definitely not helping when he's all like, oh, you're so cute. This is so hard. Anyway, yeah. So on Sunday, let's talk about Sunday. Nicole has a chat with Monty in the HOH room. And Nicole says, I'm trusting the process that Taylor is your target this week, but it's not going to be fun for me to go up on the block against her. So Nicole starts blaming a bunch of her current problems on Amira. Come on. So she's saying, I'm finding out more and more that Amira was saying things that were really messing up my game. I think you were messing up your game too. But Amira did tell people before she left, don't trust Daniel and Nicole. So Nicole says, I feel like I was bamboozled by her. I thought that I was her number one, but apparently she also said the same thing to Jasmine. So she's asking Monty, did Amira say anything about me or my game to you? And Monty says, no, not directly. Amira and I didn't really talk a lot of game one-on-one. Sure. Okay. So they're also wondering, like, what did Amira whisper to Jasmine on her way out? Because nobody seems to know. I heard rumors from people who were watching that said she was just telling Jasmine where she left, like, some of her clothes and her shoes because she didn't pack everything up. But I don't know. Monty makes the point. Jasmine can go around and say whatever she wants. Nobody knows what Amira whispered to Jasmine. So anyway, Nicole says, I want to tell you, I play a loyal, honest game with a lot of integrity. She says, even to a fault at some points, maybe. So, okay. Nicole admits she is feeling very nervous about potentially going up on the block against Taylor. And she's telling Monty, like, I would love for you to not put us up, if you decide you want to do something else, because she's getting worried. Maybe Taylor's going to be able to get more votes to stay against me. Maybe Taylor has more support than we thought before. She's really freaked out by what happened to Amira last time. So Monty feigns surprise. He's like, you think Taylor would have enough votes to stay? What? So Nicole's like, yeah. And then she starts talking about how Taylor's not going to do anything for Monty's game. She needs to go, blah, blah, blah. And Monty's like, you don't have to tell me. I have made it very clear that Taylor is my target. A link. So this was a very long conversation between Monty and Nicole. Monty was hoping that he would be able to get Nicole to say during this conversation that she was fine with Alyssa or Indy leaving this week so that she wouldn't have to go up on the block. But she never really said that. I believe she did say, as an alternative to her and Taylor going up, what if you put up Brittany and Michael? But Monty does not want to be, obviously he doesn't want to do that, but he's not going to give the real reason to Nicole. So he's saying like, oh, I don't want to risk like losing Michael. Okay. So a little later, Daniel and Kyle chat. And Daniel lets him know he's getting very nervous that Nicole could go home if they do end up using the power of veto. So Kyle, of course, is playing dumb. He's like, what? No, Monty wants Taylor out. He's wanted her out this whole time. So Daniel says he's suspicious that Taylor is working with Monty. He points out that Taylor's been spending a lot of time in the HOH room this week. You know, what's going on there? And Daniel says, we need to do something before Monty and Joe steamroll this whole game. You're talking to one of Monty and Joe's closest allies. Oh my God. So Daniel says, if Taylor stays, Monty and Joe are going to have the numbers and they're going to be able to just pick us off one by one. So Daniel is trying to show Kyle, like, we can put together our own thing here. Me, you, Nicole, Alyssa, Indy, Jasmine, we can all work together. That's if Taylor were to go this week. But he was also saying, like, we could leave the nominations the same and Indy would go. You know, we need Alyssa to stay and work with us. And he's saying we can pull Terrence in too. So Kyle is continuing to play dumb. Daniel's like, wow, I hope I didn't shoot myself in the foot by sharing all this with you. Well, and then Daniel had a similar conversation with Alyssa about working together, and she was all like, yeah, it's great. Blah. All right. So Daniel ended up having a chat with Monty, and this one wasn't really on the feeds, to my knowledge. I think like the beginning of the conversation was on there, and then they switched. I don't know. But the important thing here, Daniel feels very confident after talking to Monty that Nicole is going to be okay. He says Monty completely changed his tone in this conversation. He feels like Monty is back on track with Taylor leaving. And he thinks that Monty knows now that Nicole has the votes to stay this week. What? Daniel is now saying he thinks it could be a unanimous vote for Taylor to leave. Oh my God. So he's feeling much more comfortable with going with the original plan of using the veto on Indy and Alyssa. Taylor and Nicole go up. Daniel thinks that Taylor will be leaving by a landslide. Oh my God. So let's leave that where that is for right now. Last night, the house guests celebrated Michael's birthday at midnight. Yay! Happy birthday, Michael. He's 29. Taylor made him a cake. Big Brother gave them some booze, and they reenacted Keisha's birthday for him because, of course, we know Michael is a huge super fan of the show, and he just so happens to share a birthday with Keisha, the legend. Isn't that fun? Happy birthday to Keisha. So they sang happy birthday all like sad and low energy like they did for Keisha's birthday. And Taylor got to do the anybody want cake line. My goodness. It was a lot of fun. But Michael is going to lose his mind when he finds out that the Keisha Smith wished him a happy birthday on Twitter. Aw, that's so cute. Okay, so they had a fun time celebrating the birthday, and then the leftovers were up late last night trying to figure out what they want to do this week. So they weren't all in the HOH room at the same time until like later on, but most of them were up there for a while, and they were talking about how they don't know exactly what's going to happen with these surviving person this week. Because last week we saw that Terrence got to join any Festy Besties duo that he wanted. But now they're wondering, what if this week's survivor has to choose between the trio? What if they have to choose either Terrence, Joseph, or Monty so that it's all back to duos? So they're worried that if Nicole is evicted, Taylor's going to have to make that choice. She's not going to be able to choose whatever group she wants. So if you look at it, no matter who Taylor picks from the three, if that is what she has to do, it's going to result in the leftovers having two uninsulated groups or duos, whatever, two duos, meaning like vulnerable Festy Bestie duos that don't have anybody outside of the leftovers in them. So they don't want to take a step backwards here, right? Because right now they just have Michael and Brittany who are uninsulated. So they're hoping if the nominations stay the same, Alyssa goes, and then Indy would join Brittany and Michael. What if Indy would have to pick from the trio? What if Indy picks Terrence? Then they would still have two vulnerable duos, and Nicole would still be there. Ah! So they're brainstorming like different possibilities and different strategies here. They're trying to come up with a way to convince Daniel to leave the nominations the same without like revealing their alliance. So they're like, what if we let him know that Alyssa, Jasmine, and Indy have been saying that they don't trust Nicole. They've been talking crap about Nicole to Monty, which is true. So then, this would lead Daniel and Nicole to believe, oh, Nicole doesn't have as much support or as many votes as she thought. She may not be as safe up on the block next to Taylor as she previously thought. So that's an idea, right? They're definitely leaning more towards keeping the nominations the same and getting rid of Alyssa because they figure if every leftovers member is insulated, it doesn't matter who wins the HOH, even if it's Nicole or Daniel, because they will have the votes to save each other. Every single leftovers group will have at least one non-leftovers member in it so they can vote that person out. And they figure with this move, maybe we can even gain favor with Daniel and Nicole since we'll be protecting Nicole this week, right? So she'll have other targets to go after. All right, so Kyle, when they bring this plan to Kyle, because I believe he was the last one to join the discussion, he is not sure if he can follow through on this. He's not sure if he can leave the nominations the same because he already promised Alyssa that he would use the power veto on her and Indy. So he's got like this moral dilemma now. What do I do? And he kissed her forehead. Ugh. So anyway, he is saying like, if this is what the group decides, obviously I'm going to go with what the group wants. I'm not going to just keep Alyssa around for myself. But it's really going to come down here to the last few conversations that they can squeeze in before the POV ceremony. They also want to hear from Indy at some point and ask her like, who would you be joining? Who would you be Festy Besties with if you survive the eviction? So, my goodness, the drama. This morning, Monty lets Daniel know, I want to talk to you about some stuff that I've heard. We got to figure out this veto situation. So Daniel's telling Nicole about it. And they are very aware that there was a large group of house guests up in that HOH room last night. Ooh. They pretty much realized it's all of the leftovers, but they're not including Kyle in that. They're still not including Kyle in that. So they count the 6 people were up there. So Nicole and Daniel are thinking Monty is going to want to try and convince Daniel not to use the power veto. And their reasoning here is they think that Monty realized he doesn't have the votes to take Nicole out, and he doesn't want to risk Taylor leaving. Okay, so they're like sort of putting the pieces together here, but they're missing important stuff. Monty is chatting with Nicole and Daniel, and as planned, Monty lets them know he does not feel comfortable putting Nicole up on the block this week because Indy, Alyssa, Jasmine, they've all been coming to him throughout the week and saying they don't trust Nicole. So he's like, oh, Amira must have told them not to trust Nicole on her way out. And Monty's saying, I don't want to look like a fool by, making it very clear that Taylor is my target and putting her up, and then she stays again this week. So Monty's giving this information, which actually is true about Nicole, or about Alyssa, Jasmine, and Indy. They have been saying they don't trust Nicole. So Daniel and Nicole are playing along during this conversation. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe they're saying that. What? And then after, Daniel and Nicole are talking, and they think that Monty is lying. Oh my God! So again, Daniel and Nicole are catching on. They're realizing that this big group of people are working together, but they are missing a key piece of information. They don't realize that Kyle is with that group, the leftovers. They think it's a group of 6. So they think that they still would have the numbers. They're missing number 7. But yeah, they think that Monty wants to keep the nominations the same to get rid of one of their numbers, Indy or Alyssa, since they feel Monty doesn't think he has the votes to take out Nicole. So Daniel is convinced that Indy, Alyssa, and Jasmine would be votes for Nicole to stay. And he thinks that it would be 6-4 for Nicole to stay over Taylor. Oh my God. So Daniel says he is still going to use the power of veto. He thinks he's like going up against Monty and like going against what Monty wants. Oh my God. Which, I mean, he is, because Monty at this point is trying to keep Nicole and get rid of Alyssa to try and protect the Leftovers alliance for the long term. But he's gonna be fine with Nicole even too. So yeah, Daniel is gonna use the power veto. So Kyle lets Monty know Daniel is not buying what you're selling. And Monty is basically like, oh, well, I legitimately tried to keep Nicole off the block. But now Daniel and Nicole are going to look like idiots when Nicole leaves on Thursday. And it's because Daniel used the veto. So they have the POV ceremony. Daniel and Kyle use the POV on Indy and Alyssa. Oh my God. And Monty put Nicole and Taylor up in their place. So this is it, man. The Leftovers have the votes to get rid of Nicole. I don't see this flipping. I can see other people jumping on the bandwagon and also voting for Nicole to go. You cannot make this up. You cannot make it up. So freaking funny. I cannot wait to see. I'm wondering, are they going to keep this a blindside? Is Nicole going to figure it out? This is just, it's too wild. I can't handle it. So I want to thank you all so much for being here. This week is really gearing up to be something special again. Come on in. Bowie! Yes! It's fun! It's fun!
Oh,
okay.
God.
I want to thank...
Got 2 pages.
Okay. I want to thank all of our super chatters because you're all wonderful and we could not do this without you. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, you sweet boy. So our super chatters, Jody Cortez, thank you so much. As always, he says, you go, girl. Preach. Woo! Hallelujah. Sonia Lynn M, thank you so much for the super chat. Janine Honberger, thank you so much for the super chat. Deb Wicks, one of our house guests of the day, thank you so much for the super chat. Ian Caballo, thank you so much for the super chat. And Ian says, BBUK announced a 2023 return. I thought I saw something about that today. Nice. Hope they switched to the US format. Would you watch? Wish we had uncensored audience where they cheer and boo people like UK. I know, right? I miss the live audience for sure. And especially like when they used to actually have booing and stuff like that. Like as much as whatever. I miss that too.
Australia.
Yeah. Bowie, what are you doing? If they were gonna switch Pickens, if they did switch to the US format, I would definitely want to watch the UK version. I still would want to check it out anyway if it was on like when none other Big Brothers are on. No other Big Brothers are on.
Yeah, I took it.
But especially if it switched to the US format, I would totally check it out because that would be so much fun. But thank you again. Dane Thomas, thank you so much for the super chat. And he says, thanks again, Maddie. Congrats on your new apartment. Thank you. I got to get my ass over there as soon as we're done here.
Guys, in a few minutes after this stream is over, I'm going to put the link for the apartment tour.
Oh, yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, if you want to check it out, where I'm going to be living, we put up an apartment tour on our other channel, Madrosed Vlogs. Yay! Callie, thank you so much for the super chat. And Callie says, Faute can now come out from hiding from being fools. Or wait, can now...
I didn't make sense. I think it means...
Can now come out from hiding, like, because they're fools before. Yeah. I can't believe this is real life. I know, right? It's absolutely insane. So much fun. Sean, my fiance, he says, get your butt over here. We have stuff to unpack. I know. He's setting up, like, the TV stand and the Wi-Fi right now. I'm hoping the Wi-Fi is going to be set up by the time we get over there because I don't really have a cell phone signal without it, and I need that. So, thanks, babe. Shane Shaji, thank you so much for the super chat. And Shane says, Spoiler King on Twitter has also been such a gem this season. Love you guys and congrats on the move. Yeah, Spoiler King, lots of fun. I wonder who that is. I don't know.
Is it a secret?
I don't know. Good times, though.
Maybe you should spoil it.
I don't know. Vajra, thank you so much for the super chat. And Vajra says, I think that Invitation movie has something to do with vampires. That makes sense.
Oh, and drinking the blood.
Yeah, them wanting Natalie Emmanuel
to marry
into the family, so there may be a bit of romance involved with the movie. It looks interesting. I'm not into horror movies, but I loved her on Game of Thrones. I probably won't check it out because again, I can't do horror movies, but it looked creepy. Ooh, if you're into that, check it out.
Is that in theaters only?
Probably. I don't know for sure, but thank you again, Vajra. Angela H, thank you so much. And Angela says, thanks again for all of your updates. Thanks for watching. Robo, can you tell me your...
Afaram.
Okay, Robo Afaram, thank you so much for your super chat. And they said, thanks for doing these updates. You're the best. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. And Magdalia G says, congrats on the apartment, Maddie. It's lovely. Thank you. Thank you for your super chat. We are very lucky that we found this place, and it's only like 10 minutes away from here, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. I think it's charming.
Yeah, very happy to be so close to family.
It's just, it suits you.
Yeah, we're excited about it. So now I got to go like unpack and organize and set things up over there. I also still have to get a few more things together before I head out, like toiletries and stuff, because this is the first night we're going to be sleeping there. I hope there's no ghosts. So
bring your retainer.
No ghosts. Keep your fingers crossed. So I'll be back tomorrow for another spoiler. I can only imagine what's going to be happening now that Nicole and Taylor are up on the block. I feel like Nicole is going to spiral this week for sure.
You think?
Yes.
So she's going?
No, I just mean like she's going to be paranoid. She's going to be freaking out.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. So.
I can only imagine what will be said.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again for being here. And until next time, much love. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye.